Hi, everyone. Welcome to September. Thank you very, very much for being here at Soulprint. To new subscribers, thank you very, very much. My old ones, like I just adore you, right? So, uh, there was not a video put out on Monday. I sort of was gonna, and then I wasn't feeling good, and then I ended up doing like yard work. I don't know why Labor Day always ends up being I do labor. I just don't get it. In any case, I'm here now. So this week there's going to be this one video and then Pendulum Friday. Um but today I thought I would cram a bunch of stuff in real fast. So I'm going to do a few minis. And the first one I'm going to take a look at, of course, is, Trump. And just see how he's doing. I mean, not only was he sort of AWOL for a while there, although apparently he did resurface, but he's not looking good. And then, like, this court said, yeah, you know what, those tariffs are illegal. Um, so that's not going his way. And it'll be, um, interesting to just take a quick peek at him. I also want to take a quick peek at Vance because, the more weakened 45 is, the more advanced presidency sort of starts to come into focus, I guess. So let's just see where this takes us. I think I'm probably going to end up looking at SCOTUS too. Um, but I'm going to try to, my mini sometimes can ramble, so I'm going to try really hard to not chitter chatter my head off and to just get at it. So here we go. Let's take a look at Trump. Um, Overview on Trump, overview on Trump, overview on Trump. All right. Seven of Swords, Three of Hearts, Five of Wands. Sorry, Seven of Wands, Three of Hearts, Five of Wands. All right. So, things aren't exactly going peachy keen for him. He really feels like he has to defend himself and defend his position, but it's more than that. It feels like I almost want to use the word like paranoid. He doesn't trust anybody around him anymore. He thinks everybody's out to get him. There's just like on top of everything else that's going on. And when he doesn't think that the people around him are loyal, it just like makes something go boing in his head, right? And he doesn't handle it like at all well. And that coupled with the fact that he really, really is not feeling well. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out what it is. I just know that when I go into his energy, my heart hurts. I can't think clear. Um, my stomach hurt. Like it just honestly, from the top of his head to I don't know, like I was going to say his knees, but his legs are swelling, so to his toes, nothing is working quite the way it used to or the way it should in a really healthy person. So he's got that going on, and now he doesn't trust anybody around him, especially Vance. So, you know, he's just in this like defensive posture, but it's like he's in this defensive posture, but with very, very low energy. Now, that doesn't mean he's not yelling and screaming. As much as it feels like it just drains him, it just sort of like depletes his energy. He absolutely feels like betrayed. He doesn't trust his cabinet because, you know, even though, they're all sycophants, um, it's politics, right? Every man for himself. And he's well aware of the fact that um all of those secretaries, right? They have the power to enact the 25th Amendment. So there's really a feeling of um, anger, betrayal. It's paranoid. Um, there's just a feeling that, the number of people who are supporting him and are is dwindling. And while they may stand there and nod and smile, and just recently had another one of those sort of round table things where everybody just spent 5 minutes telling him how wonderful he was, which is not exactly, productive. I guess his ego needed some stroking. But so now, this is the interesting one because what it's telling me is that she's got the 5 of Wands here. What it's telling me is that the people around in the White House um, are all like almost like jockeying for position. Um, they're reading the writing on the wall and they're going, okay, well, wait a minute. If something happens to 45, um, and that Vance guy comes in, I need to be positioning myself so that I'm in his good books, but without sort of tipping my hand now, well, 45 is still in office. That's sort of like the mentality that's going on. And so you have just a lot of um, sniping and spying. I don't thank you, spying on, who's doing what and who has what and who has what information that um they can hang over somebody else's head or that will give them a leg up. So the energy has gone from its usual chaotic to like chaos on steroids because everybody is now in this defensive posture where they are moving to protect themselves. And so there's no like cohesiveness, right? The right hand literally doesn't, not only does the right hand not know what the left hand is doing, he doesn't even know where the hell the left hand is. And that's exactly how he is running the government right now. Whatever spurts out of his mouth is, his new policy. And um, and it's getting old and he's losing support and he doesn't know, honestly, that he's losing the support that he is because again, this is one of those situations where he's going to kill the messenger, and so people aren't giving him bad news. It's just as simple as that. And when you have the right wing sort of media, um, corporate or otherwise, kind of going after him and saying, where are the Epstein files? And he's tanking the economy. And, what the hell? It's not a good thing. It's just not. So he's not in a good space, not mentally, not physically. I can't sit here and say, well, he'll be gone by this month or that month, or this is what's going to happen to him. But he's definitely like on a downhill slide. And um, yeah, it's just not a good look. And he's not doing well. Moving on. Let's take a look at J.D. Vance. So, I don't know if you heard or if I've already mentioned this, but EM has made an announcement that his financial support and backing has shifted from 45 and it is now being directed at Vance. Now, I don't know what the differences are, but I hear pray tell, like, analysts are saying, the thing is that Vance has a very different sort of vision and a very different agenda. He is far more um, willing to be handled by big money, right? Trump threatens big money, and they bow down just out of fear. Where Vance is almost like walking around with a for sale sign stamped on his forehead. And he's been on this vacation thing, but the other thing he's been doing is like traveling kind of around the world. And people are like, what's going on there? Like, who's he meeting with? Because this is not a straight vacation. Like, everywhere he's going, he is meeting people. He is um, doing something. And, whether he is trying to gain support or let people know that, you know what, the Trump insanity is not going to go on forever and he's their guy. I don't know what it is, but let's take a look, shall we? Oh, and I've said it before. Unfortunately, he is better educated, smarter. I want to use the word crafty, but that's not quite right, but it's close. Than 45, right? He's more subtle in a way, um, and he's better versed at kind of keeping his cards close to his chest, right? And so it's harder to get a read on him. But take a peek and see what we can find out. Um, Inside Vance's circle, inside Vance's circle, inside Vance's circle. 'Cause that's really what we want to know, right? What's going on there? Okay, so we're starting off with the Knight of Swords. He's he's like literally waiting. He's waiting for the moment. He's waiting for the right move. But he has every intention of charging ahead. And he feels that not only does he have the support of big money, but he's also starting to very quietly gather support um, with the secretary of this and the secretary of that, and he- he's starting to put his little ducks in a row. And he is very quietly behind the scenes, just letting people know things are likely to change. And he's their guy. And he's going to get them to the finish line and he's going to get done what 45 has been failing to accomplish, or get it done in a way that doesn't rock the boat so badly that it just continually keeps like a spotlight on the White House and on the presidency, and what's being done and said and not said. So yeah, he's ambitious and he's moving forward. Justice. This isn't about him trying to create justice or find justice. It's not even about him trying to find a balance. What it is, excuse me, sorry. What it is the people that are backing him feel like he can step in, and in a way that is calmer, um, get things done without causing sort of like tidal waves of reaction. Because truly, the big money people, they've just lost touch. right? They've lost touch with the common man and the way people are responding and reacting. And so they really just believe that if they get the right person in that office, the things that they want done are going to get done. Um, but done in a way so that it doesn't cause like ripples, so that, it can kind of get done quietly. And oh, the next thing you know, oh, well, I don't know, he sold us all that land to like, drill on. Um, there's just, no, he gave us that contract for, $5 billion to build this techie thing, whatever it is. There is that sort of feeling that, um, he's he's controllable, and he can create a situation where the many people, the markets, feel like things have settled down and there's sort of this balance. All right. The problem is that for somebody who's educated and, we assume smart to some degree, um, he doesn't think before he speaks, right? He comes from this place of like, it's not only entitlement, but it's a place of um like I'm better than you, look what I've achieved. Um And so it's his mouth that's gonna get him into trouble. I mean, I'm thinking about, people who eat cats. Um, you know, being at like Disney World and saying, "Yeah, well, other people had to wait longer in line, but I'm here, my family's here." Those kinds of things spurting out of his mouth are not going to endear him. So, while he may be more malleable, because certainly 45 is not controllable, right? I mean, all this, the people dumped all this money to get him into office and did whatever happened there because he was supposed to be controllable. And, this is the thing. He wasn't controllable in his first term. What the hell made people think he was going to be so easily manipulated in his second? He can't be controlled. He's like a loose cannon, right? Because he sort of agrees with whoever's saying whatever they're saying, and then he goes off and onto this like tangent somewhere. But they think that Vance will be more controllable, but where Vance is gonna get into trouble is, kind of like his mouth. Alright, I'm trying to really hard to stick to 3 cards, but I pulled the next 2, and they're telling. You have the sun and the moon. So what you have here is an attempt at looking transparent while keeping your motives, and your actions shrouded. So he stands beside Trump and nods his head and agrees with every bloody thing the guy says. But behind the scenes, there's a very, very different agenda. Do I think that if things go even more haywire than they already are, do I think that he is going to enact that 25th Amendment? Yeah, the answer is yes. And that's part of the reason why, he's sort of making those rounds, um, talk to the people who um, made that happen, the cabinet. Um, because from their perspective, they're like, okay, well, I want to hang on to my power. And if he ascends to the presidency, he gets to pick his own cabinet. So I need to make sure that I do what is most politically beneficial to me. And at some point, if there is a 45th Amendment to be voted on, I'm going with the guy who is likely to end up in that office, the office that gets to pick the cabinet. So, yeah. All right, let's take a look at SCOTUS. And the reason I want to take a look at SCOTUS is one, you had that ruling that the tariffs were illegal and he overstepped, and that's just how it is. But that appeals court judge basically said, I'm giving you time to take this to the Supreme Court. Yeah. Um, I mean, Trump literally is going through the world right now, basically saying, I can do whatever I want. I'm the president of the United States, and I am absolutely above the law. And not only am I above the law, but I'm going to make sure the law goes after every single person who I view as a threat or an enemy. And SCOTUS did that. SCOTUS created that. Like, never mind all of the other appalling things that they have done. um, the abortion, the way they're handling immigration. Um, but they've created the monster. And now I think that they're starting to recognize that this may have been a time where even their power is being compromised because he really doesn't think he has to listen to anybody. And, all courts, are not amused when there is a ruling and then somebody just says, yeah, that doesn't apply to me. But you would have to think that with SCOTUS, they would get even testier about being ignored that way. I don't know. Let's take a peek. Literally, what's going on with SCOTUS? What's going on with SCOTUS? What's going on with SCOTUS? I can tell you, as soon as I step into that energy, um, it's like a war zone. Um, People are angry, people are scared, people are disgusted and disappointed. There's a lot of friction between the different justices. Roberts doesn't seem to have any sort of control over this. He's not able to like calm the waters and kind of get everybody agreeing or at least being nice to each other. It's spiraling and it's getting like more and more like negative and nasty. And interesting. Okay. Starting off with the Seven of Swords. In many ways, they have now tied themselves up. And there are going to be things that they literally turn a blind eye to because there's a situation here where you gave him all that power and authority, and now you're trying to say, well, yeah, but except for, and they're finding themselves in a position where they don't have the spine to start with to get firm, right? I mean, that's their rulings lately, even on really important stuff, is like really narrow. Like they're just talking about this and they're not talking about everything else that goes along with it, right? They're just taking this one aspect of it. Because they are literally trying to walk on like a razor's edge, right? They don't have any wiggle room here because they created the environment. Um, so not at all surprising that this is how they feel. But make no mistake, the emperor, they have no intentions of surrendering their power. And they are going to not react very well when rulings are not adhered to. And they especially are not liking the fact that lower courts are just literally getting ignored or like brushed away. And those rulings don't mean anything, and you don't have to listen to them. They want to hold their power. And in order to do that, they need to very carefully walk, right? Because they're also mindful of the fact that they waited a really long time to have a Republican majority, and they are doing what needs to be done to move that agenda forward. That's why you see some of the rulings that you see. They really are blood red Republican ideas and attitudes. And so, for a long time, I think it was just assumed that the highest court in the land was um, perhaps not neutral, but at least clear eyed. And there's no clear eyed anymore because, again, the writing's on the wall. And they're going, you know what? It's not going to take much for um, the powers to flip to the other party. And at some point, we're going to become outnumbered on this court. And so they've made a mess, basically. And because they are who they are and what they are, and their egos are the way um, they are not really willing to look at the role that they played. And the other thing is that the women on the bench, they first of all they're acting like Democrats, for God's sakes, but more in their own way, they're being disregarded because you have really, really old school Republicans in there. And women are not supposed to be their peer, but somehow they are. And so the way they can handle that is by sort of disregarding whatever concerns or issues kind of come up. Right? So again, I mean, you've got this page of cups. Not surprisingly, that card showed up. Um, I think it showed up in Vance's. Gone, right? I finished the reading, it's just gone. But so again, in this case, this is about sort of looking at the mess they've created, and now you have this like, right, fish heads from the rot down. So you have this situation where the head guy is like destroying um everything along the way, right? It's like they want him to enact the Republican um agenda, but they don't want their power in any way, shape, or form to be minimized, right? And so that's what's going on there. um the star cards, they still have very, very high regard for themselves, and frankly, they think that this low approval rating is just completely not fair because again, they are now living in a bubble, right? And they've completely lost touch with um the people. Five of Cups. they're going to end up being disappointed. Um, a lot of what they have done will be undone. Those old guys, they can't stay on that court forever. And there will come a time where they will lose that majority. And a lot of the stuff is going to end up getting reversed. So all of all that they're accomplishing is just creating a focus on kind of the mess they've made. And people are now paying way more attention uh, to what SCOTUS is ruling than they ever have before. Used to pay attention to the really big cases, right? Now people are paying attention to everything because they're starting to realize that everything is a big case. All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you for hanging in to the end of this video if you have. Um, Again, all your questions, put them in the comment section on this video, and I will look forward to seeing all of you again on Friday for Pendulum Friday. Until then, take care and be well. Bye for now.